What is going on, New York Giants fans? D. Illa here. Wanted to make this video real quick. I've gotten into some conversations with people in regards to Saquon Barkley and DeAndre Swift. Now, me personally, I'm under the belief that Saquon Barkley is not light years ahead of DeAndre Swift in terms of overall talent at playing this game at the NFL level, especially at this point in time of their careers. There's a lot of people out there that want to sit there and tell me, oh, well, DeAndre Swift can't hold a candle to Saquon Barkley, this, that, and the other. Saquon Barkley is going to add an additional element to the passing game that DeAndre Swift never could, blah, 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 blah. All this nonsense I keep on hearing. And I'm just like, man, these two players are not that far off from one another, whether you want to admit it or not. And I'm going to use 2 years from their career to prove each and every one of you completely wrong. And you're going to find out that I'm right, and I'm telling you the way it is. Okay? Now, DeAndre Swift has never been a four-down running back in this league until last season. He had 229 attempts this past season for 1,049 yards. He rushed for less attempts, and he ran for more yards than Saquon Barkley. And I know there's a difference between the offensive lines, this, that, and the other, whatever, okay? I get that. But one thing I want you to do when it comes to that is go back and look at the highlight films between Saquon Barkley and DeAndre Swift. Start out with DeAndre Swift and watch DeAndre Swift run the ball. You're going to notice there were runs where DeAndre Swift had holes that, you could drive a tractor trailer through, okay? And then there's going to be runs that DeAndre Swift has where he was kind of bottled up in the backfield, and then he kicks the ball outside and rushes up the field for big chunks of yards. And then he'd make a cut here and there, make a defender miss, and he'd rush for even more yards. And then I want you to go look at Saquon Barkley's highlight films. Now, I know how everybody views the New York Giants offensive line. But when you watch that highlight film, you're going to see that there were plenty of opportunities where Barkley had runs where the holes that he was running through, they were pretty damn big themselves. And there were instances where there wasn't even contact made on Saquon Barkley until he was 7 or 8 yards up the field. Okay? Believe it or not, this did happen. Yes, the New York Giants line is absolutely atrocious. But there were times where Saquon Barkley had nice-sized running lanes to run through. So once you watch these two players' highlight films, I want you to go back to DeAndre Swift's highlight film and watch the runs where he was picking up these large chunks of yards, okay? And I want you to look at the location of the defenders once DeAndre Swift gets up the field, okay? And he's ultimately stopped by these defenders. And I want you to really ask yourself, on these plays where DeAndre Swift makes his way up the field for these big chunks of yards, how much more could Saquon Barkley actually do on these plays, on these specific plays that DeAndre Swift did not do? Especially based on where the defenders are on that given play. Really observe this. And I guarantee you, more times than not, you're going to be telling yourself, well, hell, there probably ain't much more Saquon could have done on that play. So I want you to do that, okay? Now I'm going to bring up these 2 years in their careers. And again, DeAndre Swift has never been a four-down running back in this league. Hell, he couldn't stay healthy long enough to be a four-down running back in this league. The man has had trouble staying on the field his entire career. When it comes to injuries, anything lower body, that man has basically experienced every single year. Whether it's a hamstring, knee, foot, DeAndre Swift has dealt with it. And that's exactly why Detroit kicked him to the curb and brought on a guy like David Montgomery, a true four-down back, especially with the Chicago Bears, and a guy that could handle an NFL load at the running back position. Has had no issues doing it at all. David Montgomery just eats carries at the running back position. And then they drafted Jahmyr Gibbs, and he basically just came in and just took over where DeAndre Swift left off. So DeAndre Swift, again, has never been a four-down running back until last season. And even at 229 carries, that's still kind of light for a starting running back in this league, a true 4-down back. But now we're going to get to these 2 years that I'm going to bring up, okay? And I want you to see how close these numbers are based on the amount of games that are played, and we can actually find out, who's telling the truth and who's out here just running their mouth talking a bunch of BS. I'm going to take you back to 2021, okay? In this year, these two players played the same amount of games, and they had damn near the same amount of carries. And you're going to find out who outproduced who. In 2021, DeAndre Swift played 13 games, had 151 rushing attempts for 617 yards on the season. That was a little over 4 yards per carry. 13 games, 151 attempts, 617 yards. In 2021, Saquon Barkley had 162 attempts. That's 11 more than Swift. He ran for 593 yards. 593 yards. Swift ran for 617. Are y'all sure Saquon Barkley is that much better from a talent perspective than DeAndre Swift, especially at this point in their careers? I know we're talking about 2021 here, but are y'all sure you're right about all this BS you're trying to tell me? We're going to go back to 2019. Saquon's second year. Saquon is just as explosive as ever. Second year in the league. Saquon Barkley in 2019 played 13 games. He had 217 attempts. He rushed for 1,003 yards at 4.6 yards a clip. Okay? DeAndre Swift in 2020 rushed for 114 attempts for 521 yards at 4.5 yards a clip. So if you give DeAndre Swift 100 additional carries to that 114 that he had that season, that puts him at 214 carries. That's 3 behind Saquon, okay? That would put him at 1,042 yards for that season, rushing for more yards than Saquon Barkley in that year. I'm telling you, man, Saquon Barkley, y'all need to get this thought out of your head that Saquon Barkley is just leaps and bounds ahead of what you just had with the Philadelphia Eagles this past season, because it couldn't be any less true. You're delusional. You don't know what you're talking about. You need to watch some more film. You need to do a little bit more research when it comes to numbers and figure this stuff out. And maybe you'll realize that $15.5 million that you just devoted to that man Saquon Barkley might come back and bite you on your ass. It may be Zeke number 2. You didn't learn from a team in your division when they paid big dollars to a running back, an aging running back? You should have, because you might find out real quick. $15.5 million per season. And you got Derrick Henry out in Baltimore playing for $8 million a season. Derrick Henry. How is Saquon Barkley worth that much more than Derrick Henry per year? Somebody please explain this to me. And again, going back to what all these Philly fans are talking, all these fans out there that believe Saquon Barkley is this much better than DeAndre Swift. Going back to how they're all saying, well, Saquon Barkley is going to add a receiving element to this team that they didn't have last year. Let me tell you something, man. Since 2020, there's only been one season where Saquon Barkley has outproduced DeAndre Swift in the passing game. And that was last year. So I don't know what the hell y'all are getting at when it comes to that. That don't make no damn sense to me. At all. Does it make sense to you? Does it still make sense to you after what I just said? Man, y'all better do some research. Check your numbers again. And really look at what you're watching. Because I don't think y'all know what you're talking about. Not at all. That's it. My name's D. Illa. I'll see you in the next video. Thank you for your time. Like and subscribe. I'll see you in the next one. Take it easy. Bye.